Happy Independence Day, everybody. Everyone that's here in the U.S., that is. For our friends that are elsewhere, happy belated Canada Day to our friends above the border. It is a beautiful, beautiful day for us to contemplate what it means to be free, to contemplate our freedom, to experience what does it mean to us to be free from the shackles that bind us. How do we give new meaning to our life? How do we experience freedom? And see, what has evolved for me over this week as I have been looking at today's message is this tiny idea that the truest experience of freedom that we can experience is only available when we experience spiritual understanding. When we experience spiritual understanding. And of course, it is no coincidence that this is the first Sunday in July, and we're continuing with our study of our 12 faculties, our 12 powers of man. And so this month's color is gold. And so we're going to light a gold candle this morning for our faculty of understanding. So those here in our sanctuary can see that we have 11 more candles on an altar here in the sanctuary, and each month we pick a new, different faculty to look at. And this month we are going to look at understanding. I have had a difficulty really parsing apart this idea of understanding, because we have intellectual understanding and then we have spiritual understanding. And they are not the same. With intellectual understanding, I am reminded of this is something I told Emmy recently when I saw her and we were celebrating her birthday. I remember when I was in high school, I had to get a math tutor because I was taking trigonometry, and I was not a very good trig student. I know that will shock and dismay everyone that can hear my voice this morning, but I had to have a math tutor for trigonometry. Well, lucky me, I used to babysit for the calculus teacher. She lived 3 houses away, and so I would keep her 3 kids. And so Miss Cry, she since remarried, but Miss Cry tutored me in trigonometry because my limited intellectual understanding could not grasp what I was supposed to learn in trig. I know that there are some math geniuses here in our congregation that could probably come back and teach it to me again. I want everyone to know that because she took time with me and helped me develop that understanding, I finished that class and I took the final exam for trigonometry. And I got a 97 on it. I got the highest grade in the class. And then 2 weeks before classes started in my senior year, she called me very upset. Why have you not enrolled in calculus? And I said, because I'm going to be an actor and I don't need to know calculus. So we can get stuck in this intellectual understanding and we think that we know, right? Because we think that we think. But see, our intellectual understanding is grounded in our ego. And our ego wants us to believe that we're separate, wants us to believe that there might be something special about us that excludes all others. And spiritual understanding is our ability to know that God, good, love is the unseen substance beneath all things. If this unseen substance of God, good, love is beneath all things, then we are all one. Yes? And see, our spiritual understanding means that we understand spiritual law. Spiritual law is not defined by the rules that would define our higher math, our biology. See, our spiritual laws, when we understand these spiritual laws, we know how to accomplish that which we are called to accomplish. We know that our heart's desire is available to us, and we don't get caught up with how it shows up in the physical and how it gets done in the physical. We're not concerned about that. We know with our wisdom, and our understanding shows us how. Because we know with our heart, right? It's not just knowing in the pit of our stomach where our wisdom is, because wisdom is discernment, but understanding brings that wisdom and filters it through our heart. And see, Charles Fillmore said that we have all of these faculties, but we use these faculties and we build them together. We employ their use so that we get to control, to manifest our experience here in this incredible playground. Yes? Our wisdom knows. Our wisdom knows, but our understanding knows how and knows why. Within the intellectual limits of our thinking minds. See, there are some questions when we will ask why that intellectually we cannot grasp, because we have this limited time frame, this limited perspective. Especially when we're caught up in our heads and we're caught up in our ego, we can't truly see, and we'll ask why. And we can't always see that answer, but in our hearts, spiritual understanding simply says, all is well. It says all is well because our understanding says that I know that everything is unfolding in my highest good. It says, I know that everything is unfolding in my highest and best good. Do you believe that? I'm going to look on the screen. I want to see some people nodding online as well. We know that everything is unfolding in our best and highest good because spiritual understanding is spirit in action. Right? We have this divine energy that is always pouring through our consciousness. Yes? Divine energy is always pouring through me now. And so our understanding is aligning with that divine energy and knowing that all is well. That's the biggest thing that we can understand. Is that all is well. And that doesn't mean it always feels good. Right? Right. I had an unfortunate experience yesterday. I went to Bird Shoal with my sister and my nephew and probably 2,000 other people. And I had been playing in the ocean, and I decided I needed, some water and a snack. So I came out and I sat down in my chair and I opened up my water, and it felt like someone had slapped me with a ball of wet sand. And of all 2,003 of us that were on Bird Show yesterday, that seagull found me. That seagull found me. And so in my spiritual understanding, all was well. But you know, sometimes you can't say, why did this happen? Because sometimes things just happen. Sometimes you're just a target. And all you get to do is go wash off and go have some water and a snack. And all is well. Our divine understanding allows us to move forward with our faith. See, if we do not move forward with our faith, is our faith really serving us? See, we have this faith. We say that we believe that all is well, but our understanding allows us to live in that truth and to just wash it off and say all is well. All is well. And see, we know that all is well because we are connected to these divine laws of the universe. We know this, right? We know that we are connected. We know here in this family of believers, this community of unity that's not just within four walls now, but is expanding, you know, I mean, across the continent and even beyond. Because we know when we walk in the door and we claim these five principles that direct us to spiritual law, we hear this, we recite it, and we have that feeling that says, I am home. Yes? Do you know that feeling? Amy, do you know that feeling? I am home. Say that. I am home. Because our understanding brings us to this place. And this spiritual understanding, it invites us to step into new relationship with everyone, to know them with our heart. To understand someone spiritually means that we love them. That we love them. That we love them. We love them even if they don't dress the way we want them to. We love them even if they don't vote the way we think they should vote. We love them even when they're having a really, really bad day. Because we see them with our hearts. We understand them. Because sometimes we have a bad day. Sometimes, in retrospect, we go, I don't like the way I voted. So we rest into this spiritual understanding. And spiritual understanding is about truth. Capital T, truth. The truth that exists beyond time and space, beyond our limited understanding. And I want to be clear that we do not confuse our spiritual understanding with mere facts. Right? We have mere facts here in this manifest world. You know, it's a fact that if you jump high enough, you're not going to go floating off into the universe because gravity exists. That you are still going to land usually pretty close to wherever you jumped from. But see, spiritual truth, spiritual understanding, we know that there is no space. That we are all together right now, that we are one in spirit, and that we are together in this moment. Even though there are about 20 here in the sanctuary, we have more than 20 on Zoom. I'm sure we've got a bunch of people watching on Facebook. So even though it appears that we are separate, we are together. We are here right now. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said that our spiritual understanding is in the front part of our brain, the forebrain, up here. But our understanding, our spiritual understanding, is also in our feet. Because when you understand, you move forward. And see, this is the great lesson that we can learn from some of the times when Jesus would tell people things like, pick up your bed and walk. Use your understanding. Go forth and don't think error thoughts anymore and move forward. Live within your understanding and love. 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 So we want to develop our spiritual understanding. Yes? Can we commit to doing that? Working on that this month? So I'm going to pull some information from this book, Your God-Given Potential. I've referenced it before. It's by Winifred Wilkinson Hausman. And of course, she uses 7 key words to point us in the direction of developing our understanding. Of course, we know that 7 represents spiritual completion. So we start with questioning. When we want to understand, we question. And questioning is a sincere, interested desire in knowing. A sincere, interested desire. We think, we ponder, we wonder, we ask questions, and we seek answers and new insights. Yes? This questioning, for me, is the spiritual practice of curiosity. Our curiosity. Now, interestingly enough, as I was researching for the message this week, I found a quote from an interview with Albert Einstein. Very, very creative man. Saw the world in brand new ways and truly used his power of imagination. And he said, the older a person gets, the less they should read. Because reading stifles your own creative potential. Now, I'm not sure I agree with that completely, but I want to make sure that everyone understands that in this thinking, this pondering, this research, this asking questions, that the number one place you can go for answers, for spiritual understanding, is into the silence. It's into yourself. The words that you will find in the sacred texts of any faith tradition point to the moon, but they are not the moon, right? The finger that points to the moon is not the moon. So that we get these instructions, these directions on how even to develop understanding. But the true path is going to be found in the silence. In the silence. But curiosity makes sure that we ask the questions. It makes sure we ask the questions. This week, a friend of mine posted one of those cute little cartoons on Facebook. You know, as much as I think that social media is antisocial, I am still a little bit addicted to it. And so it said that this little cartoon said that a priest, a minister, and a rabbit walked into a blood bank. And the nurse said, "What's your blood type?" And the rabbit said, "I think I'm a type O." A typo, get it? It should have been a priest, a minister, and a rabbi. And I questioned for a minute, and then I had a good laugh. But luckily, one of my friends was brave enough to be curious. And Francis said, I don't get it. How many times are we afraid to be curious? How many times are we afraid to think and ponder and wonder about spiritual truth? We simply take what someone else has handed to us so often and go, okay, well, this must be right. So if we're not willing to be curious, we can never grow our spiritual understanding. Be brave. Ask questions. Ponder. Be curious. Once we have decided that we will ask questions, that we will move forward in our curiosity, Winifred points us to this idea of perception. Perception. See, perception is where we have an intellectual grasp of spiritual concepts. The intellectual grasp of a spiritual concept. It's where we get to ask now, how is what I am perceiving, how is what I am perceiving and discovering important? How do I perceive this? How is this true for me? Our perception is so important. We have to get a little bit of the intellectual understanding of it, because even when we know that it's true, and we have a spiritual understanding and we love people, sometimes we encounter something, usually one of those crazy thoughts that still just shows up. We're like, where did I hear that from? And it undermines this new belief we have, and it twists our perception. So identify your perception. See how it's true for you. And then we deduce. We make a deduction. We draw our conclusions. Deduction moves us from the general into the specific. See, we say, if we pray prayers of supplication, dear God, let me do well on this assessment that I have with Unity Village. Please, God, let me do well on this. I don't want 4 more years of school. See, that's a prayer of supplication. And what that does is, a prayer of supplication says, I believe in lack. So we go from the general to the specific. Lack is not the truth I know. I believe in abundance. I believe in prosperity. I believe that every resource I need to do well on the tests that are before me are available to me now. I have every resource I need within me to do well on every test that is before me now. We have to move from the general into the specific, because, in general, we might hold on to some ideas of lack. But we know that lack is not truth, right? We know that lack is just an appearance. It's not true in our lives. When we sit in the presence of God, good love, with our deductions, we have this greater insight. We have a deeper understanding, right? When we sit in the silence and take in what we have deduced, that we have discovered that there is abundance in the world, in all things, when we sit in the silence with that, we have a deeper understanding, and it begins to blossom like a lotus. Yes? How many times a week are you sitting in the silence? Once? Twice? More than that? Good. A couple times a day would be great. until you get to that point where you just walk around in the silence all the time. That's pretty amazing, I'm told, but I'm not there yet. But wait. Finally, we move into prophecy. This is what Winifred calls it, as prophecy, is where we begin to know. Have you ever known something without knowing how you knew, but you knew that you knew, and you were right? You know, we have this idea that prophecy is about, foretelling the future, but sometimes we just know that we know something, and there's we don't question it. We know intellectually there is absolutely no explaining how we know this thing, but we know this thing. Sometimes we're not always met with love when we know these things, right? Have you ever had that experience? Yeah, I was 12 and I told my mother that she was pregnant. She said no. Guess who was right? Yeah, I just told y'all my sister came to visit, right? She's 13 years younger than me. So, so sometimes we just know that we know that we know. See, our wisdom knows, right? Our wisdom knows. It is our spiritual understanding that communicates. It is our spiritual understanding that allows us to present the wisdom that we know from the heart. Right? Because when we don't work our wisdom and our understanding with love, it can be cold and harsh. Right? Has anyone ever told you the truth that you needed to hear and it was kind of cutting and mean? It's because they didn't do it through the heart filter. They did not do it with God, good love showing up in their voice. See, our prophecy allows us to filter this knowing through our heart and allows us to be heard. The truth of who we are to be heard. The God, good love, the Christ as me that is speaking. And see, this allows us to speak truth without preparation or forethought. Have you ever been with that friend who just needed you to be present? And so you're there, and suddenly, from no conscious thought of your own, some incredible thing comes out of your mouth that holds them and comforts them. I know this is true because you may not be ordained, you might be ordained, but you all are ministers, because minister is a verb. And when we show up and we hold space for people to heal, we are ministering. And so we do that with our prophecy. We do that by showing up and speaking with love. That which we know, that we cannot explain how or why we know it. Having that experience, it can be seductive to not grow your spiritual understanding beyond that place. So be aware that sometimes you're like, oh, this is how I do it. But I want you to move on beyond just that experience of prophecy. I want you to move into compassion. See, our spiritual understanding is perfected in love when we hold compassion. So many people that I've met in my life, they confuse compassion with sympathy. And see, when we have sympathy, we have identified something as wrong. But we just got done saying, right, that we believe that all things are unfolding for the divine highest good for me, and there's only me, right? Because we are all one. So if everything is always unfolding in the highest and best good, there's no need for sympathy, because we know that everything is in divine order. Everything is right. And so our compassion, what I'm talking about is that we forgive false appearances and we see past error to the truth. And the truth is, we see this divine energy that is the substance beyond all things seen and unseen. We know that it's really just God, good love showing up. And maybe sometimes it shows up in a way that doesn't always feel comfortable because I'm looking through my limited lens, right? And so I move into my heart. I move into my compassion. My understanding is perfected in love. And then I really have a true spiritual understanding. I comprehend the laws of thought and the relation of all ideas to one another. Like I can see how everything is connected when I have moved through this path and I truly understand. I understand that how it might be confusing if I do a prayer of supplication when I'm talking about the oneness, when I'm saying that the Christ lives within you. But I also know from my spiritual understanding that sometimes we need that personal experience of God outside of us because we need comfort. And if God is everywhere, always present, then God is also outside of me and can hold me there in that moment until I'm ready to be one with that Spirit again. I want some nods unless I've confused some people, because if I'm confusing, I want to go back to both and. And when we understand that when we showing up as this incredible diversity of people and personalities, and we get to use our divine understanding, our spiritual understanding, and hold space for people, we get to hold them as the divine creatures they are. And sometimes it might require a prayer of supplication to get into their heart. And once we're there, we can move forward with the final step of spiritual understanding. And that step is illumination. Because when we move into spiritual understanding and we get to illumination, we no longer have to ask questions. We simply know. We see the connection of all things. We live in this truth. We know our connections and we are illuminated from within. And when people look with their spiritual eyes, they know it. That's why walking through the park, someone might come up to you when you are feeling particularly in the silence, feeling particularly connected, feeling the most understanding. Someone with a real problem might show up like moths to a flame. See, that's what I think it means for us to go out and proselytize in this world. We get to stand in the truth of who we are, and people that need our light and want to know the truth that we know, they're going to show up. And you get to love them. Sometimes they're going to show up and they're not going to be nice. They might yell at you. They might scream. They might say, "Oh, you cut in line. You took my parking spot. You hit my car with your cart." Is any of that true? Who knows? But we get to love them. We get to love everybody. Because God, good love, is breathing us now. Isn't that exciting? We get to just stand and let this inner light shine, this truth of who we are. Are you ready for that challenge? Are you ready to show up and just love people? You're just going to show up and love people. Love one another as I have loved you. That's the only sacred text I really need. Just show up and love people. See, the light shines so brightly that tonight, when all across the United States we have fireworks going off, when we stand in this truth, everything is illuminated. You know, there is no need for fireworks because this light shows up as us. And we get to change the world just by loving people. I think that is super exciting. And I can't wait to do it with all of you. Namaste, friends. Dedri, will you move us into a time of meditation?
I let go, I allow, I accept, and I trust. In the light, I am whole, I am one. I let go, I allow, I accept, and I trust. In the light, I am whole, I am one. Let's do that one more time. I let go, I allow, I accept, and I trust. In the light, I am whole, I am one. I let go, I allow.
So let's take a deep breath. Relax into your seat. And with another breath, just relax your shoulders and unclench your jaw. Relax into this space that is the silence. There is nothing you need to do right now. There is no place you need to be. If it's comfortable, close your eyes. Release the tension in your hands and in your wrists. And just sink a little bit lower into your seat. And on that magic projection screen in your mind, envision a bright gold light. A bright gold light. It's not very big. It's just there, simply shining. And let my words be your words. I am willing to question old beliefs for the purpose of satisfying my desire for spiritual understanding. I am willing to question old beliefs for the purpose of satisfying my desire for spiritual understanding. I consciously take hold of spiritual concepts. I meditate on the spiritual truths I know. my mind expands with new revelations of spirit. The truth that I know, that I know, that I know is rooted and grounded in love. The truth that I know, that I know, that I know is rooted and grounded in truth. I see, feel, and understand all things in the light of spirit. I see, feel, and understand all things in the light of spirit. The light of perfect understanding illuminates my life. The light of perfect understanding illuminates my life. And now, as you relax for this moment in this stillness, in this silence, watch as this golden light becomes larger and larger and larger, filling your entire body, filling your entire imagination, filling your life now in the silence. With spiritual understanding, I know everything is unfolding for my highest good. With spiritual understanding, I know everything is unfolding for my highest good. And so it is. Now, as you're ready, I invite you to bring your awareness back to the space and the time where you happen to be. Bring your awareness back with this beautiful song by Tedry.
Love is all that I am. I can feel the presence of love within me. Love is all that I am. I can feel the presence of love within me. Love is all I am. Let us do light is all I am. Light is all that I am. I can feel the presence of light within me. Light is all that I am. I can feel the presence of light within me. Light is all I am. Let's do peace. Peace is all that I am. I can feel the presence of peace within me. Peace is all that I am. I can feel the presence of peace within me. Peace is all I am. Love. Love is all that I am. I can feel the presence